There's an island off the coast of Brazil that, from a distance, looks completely ordinary. If you saw it on a map, you wouldn't think twice about it. It's just another patch of green surrounded by water, sitting quietly about 35 kilometers away from the mainland. Nothing about its shape or size stands out, and nothing about it suggests that stepping onto it would be any different from stepping onto any other island. But that assumption doesn't last very long, because the moment you actually imagine being there, standing on that ground, something feels off. Not because of what you see immediately, but because of how you would have to behave. You wouldn't walk normally. You wouldn't move casually. Every step would carry a kind of hesitation, like your body is trying to tell you something before your mind fully understands it. And the reason for that isn't dramatic in the way people expect. There are no sudden attacks, no visible swarms, no obvious warning signs carved into the landscape. The danger here is quieter than that. It's built into the system itself, into what lives there and how it survives. This place is called Ilha da Queimada Grande, and the interesting part is, it wasn't always like this. If you go back far enough, this wasn't even an island. It was part of the mainland, connected by land where animals moved freely and ecosystems behaved the way they usually do, with balance, movement, and constant interaction. There was nothing isolated about it, nothing trapped. Then, over time, the ocean changed the rules. Sea levels rose slowly, not in a way that anyone would notice in a single moment, but enough to redraw the coastline completely. What used to be continuous land became separated, and one section was cut off entirely. That piece of land stayed behind, surrounded on all sides by water, carrying with it whatever happened to be there at that moment. Plants remained, insects remained, birds still passed through, and so did the snakes. At first, nothing about that seems unusual. Snakes are adaptable. On the mainland, they survive by feeding on small mammals, mostly rodents, and there's no shortage of those. The system works. There's movement, there's prey, there's balance. But on this island, something subtle disappeared. There were no mammals, no rodents moving through the undergrowth, no stable, predictable food source. And that changes everything. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because a predator without a reliable prey system doesn't just struggle, it starts to face a very specific kind of pressure. The only food left came from birds. Not birds that lived there, but birds that passed through. Migratory birds that would land briefly, rest, and then leave again. Which means the opportunity to hunt wasn't constant anymore. It was temporary, short, unpredictable. And that creates a very different kind of problem. Because if a snake strikes and the bird escapes, that's not just a missed meal. That's the end of that opportunity entirely. The bird doesn't circle back. It doesn't linger. It leaves. And the snake is left waiting for the next arrival, which might not come for a while. So over time, something begins to shift. Not in a dramatic, visible way, but in small differences that slowly start to matter. Some snakes are slightly more effective than others. Some strikes result in prey that can still move, still escape, still fly away. Others don't. Others end the interaction almost immediately. And those differences, repeated over generations, begin to shape the population. The snakes that are more efficient survive more often. The ones that can secure a meal in that narrow window continue. The ones that can't, slowly disappear from the system. And eventually, what you get is something different from what was there before. A new species. The golden lancehead viper. It doesn't behave randomly. It doesn't rely on chance. It's built for a very specific environment where hesitation doesn't work and second attempts don't exist. Its venom isn't just dangerous in a general sense. It's effective in a very particular way, designed to act quickly enough that prey doesn't get the opportunity to escape. And once that kind of adaptation settles in, something else starts to happen. There's nothing there to stop it. No predators hunting them. No larger system keeping their numbers in check. In most environments, there's always something that limits growth, whether it's competition, scarcity, or predation. Here, those limits are minimal, so the population becomes concentrated. Not in a way that turns the island into chaos, but in a way that changes how you would move through it. Because now, you're not walking through a neutral space anymore. You're walking through a place where a single species has become highly efficient at what it does, and there are enough of them that ignoring that fact isn't possible. Which naturally leads to a question people always ask. Did anyone ever try to live there? There is a lighthouse on the island. It was built for a practical reason, to guide ships moving along the coast. And for a period of time, people did stay there. They maintained it. They operated it. They lived in that environment. But they didn't stay permanently. Eventually, the lighthouse was automated, and the need for people to be physically present disappeared. And with that, so did human presence on the island. There are stories, of course, stories about what happened to those who stayed there, about encounters that went wrong. Most of those aren't well documented, and they tend to grow more dramatic the more they're repeated. But the reality doesn't need exaggeration. What matters is simpler than that. People stopped living there. Not because of a single event, but because over time, it became clear that maintaining a normal human presence in that environment didn't make sense. And when you step back and look at the island as a whole, that outcome feels almost predictable. Because this isn't a place where something unusual suddenly appeared. It's a place where everything followed a very clear sequence. Isolation removed options. Limited options created pressure. Pressure shaped adaptation. And that adaptation, over time, defined the entire system. So today, when access to Ilha da Queimada Grande is restricted, it isn't treated as a mystery or a legend. It's treated as a consequence. Because this isn't an island that became dangerous overnight. It's an island where nature had enough time, enough isolation, and enough consistency to finish what it started.